go over. Hi, good morning. Okay, who's ready for today? I am not all the way awake yet. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I did post the tracker. I'm gonna post it one more time in the chat. For some reason, some people can see it, other people can't. I don't know why. I don't know how to fix it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to give you guys some pointers on language, how to follow up with people, what to say, how to kind of expand on networking, like learning how to create engagement through networking and eventually, hopefully turning that into a connection. So for me, for those of you that haven't been on my power hour, hi, I'm Jace. Sorry, I jump right into things sometimes. But for me, because I've practiced these three principles for so long, networking, connecting, and inviting, they tend to blend together for me now. Like I know how to create connection in each place. And that's really the ultimate goal. You want to be able to get on and be like, okay, I'm simultaneously kind of doing all three of these things just because I know the practice of these things already, and you just naturally can start working that way. That's the goal. And that really comes into play when you master kind of the language around connection online, because one of the things that's so interesting is people's online personalities. Do any of you guys feel like you have a different personality online than you do in real life? It's okay if you do, just raise your hand. I feel like my online personality is the most extroverted piece of me. So this personality of mine comes out the most with people that I know the best in real life, that I'm closest to, sometimes with total strangers because I don't care what they think about me. But it's my most extroverted version of myself. And I love that. I love that because that's the part of me that really is able to get connection in the way that I want to. Okay. So if you meet me in real life, I'm exactly the same way as I am online. Sometimes I'm just a little more shy. That's it. When I first met my coach, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this. He was a completely different person in person. And it was so weird. And I was like, that will never be me. So that was kind of like actually how I learned, like, okay, don't like create some weird online personality that isn't authentic, because then this is going to happen and it's weird. So, number one tip, when you are learning how to talk to people, it's important to understand what your fears are. It's important to understand that being yourself is so key. It's also important to really understand that you are in a professional position as a partner, right? Like, this isn't just like, oh, I'm your best friend, I'm your sister, I'm your mom, I'm your, like, this is like you're in a professional role. And so you have to learn how to balance those two things, right? Because you do want to connect with people and you do want to get to know them. And you guys already know this is such a personal business, right? But at the same time, if you blur those lines, you're going to struggle so much. And it's because you aren't going to be able to keep the conversation where you want it going. You aren't going to establish yourself as the lead position in that relationship, which is what they really need. They need you to take the lead and to be the coach, right? Be their sponsor. And you're just going to struggle to really build that respect and trust that you need. So number one, as we're going through this, the number one thing that you want to establish with your clients, with your partners, is trust. And a lot of people don't understand that trust is built through a few different things. So I'm just going to give you a little pop quiz. You don't have to share your answers. You can be super authentic. Okay. I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 10 on how strong or how weak you feel you are in this area. Okay. Number 1, do you beat around the bush when you're talking to people? 10 being all the time, 1 being I never do that. Number 2, how is your follow through? Not your follow-ups. How is your follow through? How do you do what you say you're going to do? Okay, and then the very last one, ooh, 8, I like that. The last one is your consistency. Do you show up? Most of us should be pretty high in that category. That's why you make a good partner, right? Okay, so the goal isn't to be a 1 in every single one of these categories. It's really just understanding where you need to put more attention because it doesn't come as naturally for you. But these are really the 3 things that start to build trust immediately. You have to show people that you're reliable, and the way that you show people you're reliable online is through following through, showing up consistently, and not beating around the bush. The more you beat around the bush, the less credibility you have. I'm just telling you right now, like, here's what I always think about this. The way that I think about this piece of communication is you need to get to know this part of that person's life. And that's it. Like, that's your goal, that's your priority. You are trying to focus on their health and well-being, their health and wellness, right? Every other aspect of their life is really theirs to bring to you. And if they want to bring that into the equation, then they can. Does this mean that you shouldn't know their background or what they're dealing with or what's going on in their life? No, but it's not the most important part. And I get a lot of flack for saying that. But for me personally, whenever I take on a new client, this is really key to this next piece of the work that we're going to do, is my focus is 100% on them. Because how many times is the focus on everything else in your life but you? It's always your kids, it's always the routine, it's always how your marriage is going, it's always your husband's job, it's always like, or whatever. Like, it's never, ever about what you personally want to accomplish in your life. Ever. You rarely have like a mentor or a coach or a teacher or someone focused entirely on who you want to become, what you're trying to accomplish, how you're feeling about yourself, right? So this is an opportunity as a partner to become that person, that advocate for this person who needs support and just needs permission and needs acknowledgement. So this is my 10-minute introduction for this call. There's going to be a little more talking, sorry. But acknowledgement is one of the most underused, but one of the most impactful pieces of communication that there is, because everybody wants to be what? Seen and heard. So simple, but I actually, and I've never done this before, I don't know why, but I looked up the definition of what acknowledgement was this morning. I'm like, I wonder what that is. Maybe I can like get technical and sound important. I don't know. I looked up the definition, and the definition of acknowledgement is acceptance of the truth of something. So if your goal is to build trust, wouldn't acknowledgement be such a simple way to start that process and recognize and accept truth, right? So when you look at somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, that person is so disciplined. And you like take a second and you're like, oh my gosh, like I look at your post, or I look at what you say, or I look at what you're doing every day, and I've just noticed like how disciplined you are. I used to always say, don't look at the people that you're comparing yourself to and wish you had what they had. Start paying attention to their discipline and adopting that work ethic, because it's so true, right? So acknowledgement is a huge piece of it. And that's entirely what this Reach Power Hour is about. It's just learning how to acknowledge people. And I am somebody who is most of the time in my own lane, like doing my own thing with my own blinders on. And this was not an area of strength for me, even though like I love helping people. So if you're like, oh, I don't do that very well, I didn't get a lot of acknowledgement growing up. And so this is definitely something that can be learned. that isn't always natural and is something that you can get really good at, even though it might never feel supernatural for you, right? Okay, just putting that disclaimer out there. Okay, so we're gonna start. Here are my tips before we get going. Number one, always end with a question if you can, whenever you're messaging someone or talking to someone, okay? Number two, stay on point or get on point if you get off, like redirect. Learning how to redirect and bring the conversation back, and I can give you some tips on how to do that, are really key. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get going. So we're not going to actually go through this entire thing because I want there to be a little bit of time for you guys to ask specific questions on where you maybe need some guidance with your reaching out to people or like what to say. So we're going to kind of go through little bits and pieces of this. But here's one thing that I want to just go through really quick. With talking to people online, what is your biggest fear? And you can post this in the chat. I can start typing my laundry list of things that I was afraid of. Saying something stupid, being too salesy, judgment, rejection. I don't appear genuine. That's a really big one. That I will fail and disappoint my son. That's a big one. Rejection. So most of our fears are based in a lack of worthiness within ourselves. So if you look at your fear and you're like, okay, my biggest fear talking to people online is rejection, there's probably some history that you have with that specific thing. So tip of the day, take that fear and deep dive it. That is the kind of personal development that actually will move you forward in life and help you live a healthier, happier life if you do the work around this area, right? It can be something really basic. It can be something way deeper than you expected. And some of them are just normal, typical fears, right? Like, I think that they will want that I want something from them. You do want something from them. This is where you have to really be like, okay, I'm afraid of being rejected. Is this about me or is this about them? Let it go. It's not about you, right? So if someone is rejecting the idea of like getting healthy and getting back in shape and working out, or even rejecting the idea of purchasing something, that's their personal choice. It has nothing to do with you. So if you're making it about you, that's when you're feeling that rejection. There's something that Oprah said one time that was like, anytime you are, what did she say? I think it was like, anytime you're afraid, that's just your ego talking. And I was like, ugh. So like now, anytime I feel like some kind of negative, whatever with anybody, I'm like, is that like, what's going on there? And so I just kind of like check myself. But one thing that's so important with our business and with helping people is this cannot be about you in this specific space. You have to show up with the intention to connect with people, and anything that comes from that beyond it is just gravy. So, acknowledge the fear that you have. If you decide that, oh my gosh, maybe I should really like look into this a little bit deeper, then do it. A lot of the times, judgment, failure, rejection is like a stemmed reaction from some other time in your life. And so if you can figure out where that came from, and then also say to yourself, like, this isn't about me, and just give yourself some kind of check, it'll help you kind of power through and do it anyway. It'll help you power through anything that really is you speaking, which when you put your partner cap on and you decide, okay, I'm going to help other people today, it has to be about that person. It has to be about other people. And you have to kind of set yourself out of the equation in order to be effective, which is a weird thing. I know it sounds weird, but it's kind of the truth. So, not to get way too deep, but we're going to start. This is just a really simple way to start engaging in your social media. So pull up your Instagram This is one of my only power hours that I don't start with a post. You're welcome. Okay. I'm just going to give you guys some ideas on how to reach out to people that are in your network, that you cultivate into your network, to take them from just being like a fly on the wall and watching to actually engaging, to building a connection and like encouraging sort of that, like that cooperation. So with your new followers, if you click on your little heart on your Instagram page, you can pick out 1 or 2 new people that have followed you recently. It's okay if you don't have any, because you can also just go to recent followers from your list. Okay, so with new followers, there's a lot of people that are like, do you reach out to every single one of your new followers? No. Would I be more effective if I did? Probably, but I try to as much as I can. Okay, so one thing that I see that I do, if I notice that they're liking my stuff or like watching my stories, or I notice that they're, commenting on things, then I will DM them. I'll send them an instant message and I'll say, hey, I see you. I just wanted to reach out and let you know I'm here. Welcome to my page or my community or my family, whatever you want to call it, here on Instagram. It's super simple. There's no questions or anything other than that. It's simply acknowledging that I noticed this person in my space. But it goes a really long way. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys reach out to 1 or 2 of your new followers and just send them a message like that. If you already do this, do you have a copy and paste message? You can post in the chat like what you do if you are really good at this. Some of the accounts are private, a lot of them are. So when that happens, I usually follow them back. This is like the one time I'll follow them back. And if you click the 3 little dots on a private page up on the right corner, you can actually send them a message if they haven't blocked that. Did you know that? So you don't necessarily have to invite them as a friend or follow them back. You can actually just click those 3 little dots on their profile page and send them a message. I also like to say thanks so much for finding me here on Instagram instead of following me, because I think that sounds egotistical to me and I don't like that. It's totally fine if you don't and you do that. I'm just saying, for me, that's the language that I use. Okay, so Jordan said, I get a lot of followers that are creepy guys, or the women who are following, trying to sell me something like stock scams, etc. So none of those I ever respond to. However, I will say, if that's all you're seeing all day long, if that's all I was seeing all day long, I would never want to be on social media. This is a networking issue. Like, if you can just start networking religiously, like every single day for a couple weeks, you can reframe the way what's happening with your social media. And you can start to build what you want around yourself, right? And then that way you will have people to talk to. That's what networking is all about. Okay, so on your recent followers, I do the same thing. But what's interesting about recent followers and the difference between people who just started following you is they have already built a connection with you because they've been following you, right? So they know what you're about, they know your content, they know who you are, like they've seen your stuff. So you're already connected. You're no longer strangers, right? So for me, that gives me the permission to acknowledge them in a more direct way, or in a way that's a little more comfortable or a little more confident, because they already know who I am, even though I don't know who they are, right? And so with your recent followers, if you just go to your homepage on your Instagram, you pull up your followers, right? I believe the people who followed you the most recently are at the top. So if you just scroll down, the further you scroll down, the older that follower is, if that makes sense. So what you can do is you can look at kind of a recent, like last 90 days, maybe, just guess, because there's no way to filter that. And then I send them a DM, or I'll actually go to their profile because it's more meaningful for them, because they've been following you, because they've had a connection with you. Sending them a DM might feel salesy. But if you go to their profile page and you say something like, hey, it looks like you found me on Instagram, so I just wanted to come over and creep your page and say hi. Like, I just wanted to come see who you were. It's, again, just acknowledgement. Okay, so I want you guys to find one of your recent followers. It might be even somebody's name that you recognize that you've never networked with before, and just go to their page and like a couple of their photos, send them a message. This is also about like specific acknowledgement of that person. So the difference between these exercises and just like our normal networking that we do on our Power Hours with me is this is personalized, right? It's going to be a lot slower, a lot less people. You want to directly make it make sense for the person that you're reaching out to. So a little tip, you guys, these recent followers that have been following you for maybe the past month, past few weeks, these are the people who are connecting with the season you are in right now. And they are probably the most effective people to connect with and eventually invite, if you want people surrounding you that are in the season you're in. Okay, if you reached out to one of your recent followers, what did you say? So again, these are your people that are identifying with the current season of your life and what you're saying. So another little tip with these people is you can kind of use that to your advantage. And you can be like, hey, I noticed you recently started following me. Is there something about the content that I'm putting out or what I'm saying that's reaching you? What I think people do get afraid of is like asking personal questions like that, right? But the way that I look at personal questions is to that person directly, about that person directly. And I'm not asking about how much money is in your bank. That's something outside of that person. How many kids do you have? That's something outside of that person. Are you married? That's something that's outside of that person, right? Every personal question that I ask is something internal that they can choose to answer or not, right? And it kind of forces people to self-assess, which is something that I love doing. I like getting people to think deeper about their own life and themselves. So when you ask a personal question that way, what's resonating with you right now in this season of your life? Man, that's a hard question to avoid, right? It's hard to put, well, my kids, my husband, my job, my whatever, like that's what is going on in my life. Wow, this person sees and hears me. And it's fascinating how that little slight change in language or how you're approaching people, how you're seeing people and acknowledging people can make such a huge difference, especially in our business. Okay. Okay. The very last one in this kind of section is our oldies but goodies. So these are the people that have been following us for a really long time. Okay. Like some of our OG followers. So if you go back again to your homepage, you click on the followers. You can even scroll all the way down to the bottom if you want to, but the further you scroll, right, like the older they'll get. These people have connected with you in past seasons. They're probably watching you grow still. They may or may not have ever had the courage or confidence to work with you. I would say if it's somebody that's follows you for a really long time and they've never worked with you, there's probably some kind of fear there for them. They wouldn't keep following you if what you were doing wasn't relative in their life. They'd unfollow you. So there's something that you have that they're still like, huh, what is it? Okay, so what I love about these followers is you have leverage. Leverage is my favorite thing in this whole business. It's like my secret sauce. Okay, so with your old followers, this is a, hey, I just wanted to reach out and thank you for being one of my longest time followers or friends here on social media. That right there, you guys, is such a huge compliment to people who have connected and followed with you for a long time, especially if they've never really been seen by you yet. Like acknowledging that they've been around since the beginning, like feels good, right? So that's one thing that I always really try to say. And then I try and take it a step further and I'll say things like, your support doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for sticking with me through my whole mess all this time. It means a lot. It's a compliment. It's an acknowledgement. This goes a really long way. And you would be shocked at how many deep connections you can make from that comment alone. Okay, so I want you guys to find one of your OG followers and reach out to them with a compliment. Compliments are just micro acknowledgements, but only if they are what? Who knows? True. You can compliment people and not believe it. Right? Genuine. That's right. Okay. Just to recap, these are quick notes for you. So if you want to write this down, it will help you. Okay. Your new followers are opportunities. They are people that you have the opportunity to bring into your circle, see if they're like the right people for you or not, or let them go. They're like the free flow. Okay. So new followers are the opportunity. You respond to them with encouragement and kindness. Okay. The second are recent followers. These are our golden opportunities. These are the people who are in season, if you want to think about it that way. They are the ones that we want to get to know. So when you message them, that's kind of what you're thinking. Okay, this is like a new relationship, friendship, situationship. I don't know, that I want to cultivate, right? This is somebody that I want to get to know. Why are you following me? What is reaching you in this content right now? Maybe we're in the same obstacle. Maybe we're in the same season of life, right? Like these are your people. The third, your oldies but goodies. Okay, these are your leverage clients. These are people that you can push a little bit and challenge and be like, hey, I noticed you've been following me for like 7 years. How come we've never worked together? You can say things like that and they will immediately be able to respond, right? Because they've been following you for so long. There's already a deep connection built there for them. So you just sort of pretend like there's a deep connection there for you as well, because there kind of is. They've seen a lot that you've been going through and they know a lot more. Like everything you've posted, you have to assume that they know. So in a sense, they are kind of like your biggest supporters. They are the ones that are there for you regardless of what's going on in your life. So acknowledge that, right? Okay, and then this next one are our commenters. So people who comment, that was just a cliff notes for those of you that are like, wait, what? Okay, so commenters, I either go to their profiles and post on their stuff or I'll DM them. But the way that I connect with commenters is, hey, like if I go to their page, because I haven't I've seen them commenting on my stuff, but I've never actually gone to their profile page to see who they are. I'll go to their page and be like, I can't believe I've never come to your page before. Like, how am I not following you? That's the comment that I would leave. And it just kind of like kicks up a conversation, right? Or you can DM them and you can say, can I just thank you for always talking to me on my posts? I don't feel as alone or like I'm talking to myself because you always comment. Like it's such a great compliment, right? When you tell somebody that they're making you feel less alone. It's really simple, but it's just a much deeper way of speaking to people than just froofy stuff, you know? And you guys know, I don't know if you guys believe this, maybe you can post this in the chat. This kind of work that we do requires a pretty decent amount of connection, a pretty deep-rooted ability to push someone and challenge someone and support somebody in the way that they need in order for them to change, right? And to consistently keep going on this new course rather than enabling them and allowing them to keep doing what they did before. You can't do that with someone who you don't have trust with or a deeper kind of connection with. They have to really understand that your interest in them is specifically their health and wellness and their success within that space. That's why when you beat around the bush and you talk about a billion other things, you become just like everyone else in their life. That's not what you're trying to do. Okay. You're trying to be the advocate, the support, the partner in this specific area of their life. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you guys have any commenters, but if you do, you can try one of these two tactics. Okay. this next part with people who like your stuff. So if you go to your page, maybe look up one of your posts that has like a higher like count, not necessarily comments or whatever, but just has a lot more likes than normal. This is really simple. It's really simple. You can do it two ways. You can tag people in the comments. So like a really great way to get people commenting is the very first person that liked your picture. So if you pull up your photo, you can click on liked by, right? Or you can just look at liked by. You can even just pick that person that it's showing, that handle. You can go into your comments and you can tag them. Hey, this is my husband, so I'm just going to tag him. You can tag them and just be like, hey, thanks for liking my content. Thanks for liking this post. Super simple. So I want you guys to do that for a couple people. What's cool about that, you guys, is it adds comments to your post. It acknowledges people who are seeing and liking and supporting your stuff, and it encourages them to write something to you. Even put on my background music, guys. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, we're going to do a couple more, and then we're going to talk about follow-ups, because this is where I think people get hung up a little bit. And I just wanted to also acknowledge, you guys, we aren't going outside of our profile. You're only doing this power hour with people who are already really in your space and connected to you in some way. That's important to acknowledge, okay? Because when we network, we go outside of our current following, right? Like our current audience, and we pull people in. So it's a little bit different than this. Okay. Like this hashtag one. So this power hour is actually where the direct messaging on big accounts comments came from. If you guys have done my power hours before, then you know what that is. That was born with this power hour, because it was just like, oh, that's an idea. Like, what if we go talk to people in other people's comment sections, because then they can see our name. We're starting conversations there. You can kind of establish yourself. It's kind of like joining a group page and then like being a support to all the people in it, and then also posting like valuable stuff. That's kind of the same concept. So like with the hashtags, the only step that goes a little further with this one is you actually look for people that you want to follow, or you go to their profile pages. And if there's somebody that you would connect with personally, then you can message them and be like, hey, I saw your name on Gary V's post about blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to just see who you were. And so I came to your profile page and here I am, right? Like, it's just kind of introducing yourself. So instead of like supporting them or coaching out loud on the comment section, it's like individually finding people in those comment sections that you connect with and relate to, and actively and intentionally trying to find people to bring into your corner that actually you look to for support and mentorship or friendship or whatever it is. This is really how you change the landscape of your social media. The more intentional you are, the more on point this becomes. because then the algorithm will start to actually feed you what makes sense to you instead of just guessing or giving you more of what you do when you're scrolling and not being productive. Okay, we're going to skip these two. And the last one that we're going to actually actively do is the flies on our wall. Have you guys posted a story today, or is there an active story on your Instagram right now? Okay, if yes, this will be great. If not, maybe post a story, and you can do this one in a little bit. So people who view our stories, especially if your account's public, aren't necessarily the people who are seeing what's in your feed. It's been kind of proven, talked about, that they're two different audiences, which is kind of interesting. For sure, there's crossover, but there's a lot of new people that are viewing your stuff that aren't actually following you and aren't actually actively engaging in your feed. So if you make a point to just go into your stories, you can even look in your archive if you don't have any. You do that through your homepage. Click your three little straight bars at the top and you hit your archive button, and it will pull up your stories archive. Did you guys know this? So any story that disappears actually isn't disappeared. It's just in your archive. Okay, so if you pull up your archive, just pull up your most recent, your last story. Actually, oh yeah, so you can look up story archives, post archives, and live archives. So pull up your story and just look at the viewers. Again, you're just looking to see who is looking at your content. If there's a name you don't recognize, so you pull up your story, it looks like this. And then at the very bottom on the left, it'll say activity, and a bunch of little profiles pop up. If you click on that, it pulls up every single person that has viewed your story. That's basically a list of people that you can reach out to every single day. I saw you saw my stories this morning. You can DM them directly from that list. It's so easy. But what's cool about these people and unique about these, oh, and that's cute. Jericho watched this post of mine. So then you're like, oh, there's people like watching my stuff. Anyway, you can actually see who is engaged in seeing your face. Because in our stories, I feel like we're a little more candid and we're a little more, here's our day-to-day, like they see you in a different light other than you just working out, right? They see you talking, they see you speaking, it's just different. And so these people are probably a lot more visual. They're probably people who really enjoy your personality, right? Like, or they share, again, in-season content. These are people who are following you right now. So if you're like, there's people following me and like none of them are right. Like they're all people that are in a different phase or needing different things from me that I'm no longer interested in or whatever, right? If you want in-season people, it's the people that have been following you for a month or longer, like 1 to 3 months, and the people who are watching your stories. Super simple. Okay, so the way that you get to that, again, if you go to one of your stories, you pull it up. This one's like a poll. Okay, so you're just in your stories right now. On the bottom left-hand side, there's a little button that says activity, and then it shows like profile pictures. You just click on that, just tap it, and it will pull up everyone that has viewed that story. Let me just make sure that this is the same for, yeah. And it will pull up this list, like, sorry, my camera's like blurry. And then right here on the side is the DM button. So you can DM them directly from there, send them a message, and then it just takes you back to this screen. So you don't even have to go directly to their profiles, but it's just a way. This is a great exercise in the morning for like the first 10 people that viewed it to just be like, good morning. Just acknowledge them. You don't even have to say anything else. Good morning. It's you saying, I see you seeing me. It's a weird thing. Again, people just want to be seen and they want to be heard. So if you felt seen and heard, then it's okay to do that back. It's like the most basic, genuine way to acknowledge someone and connect with someone. And the more you do it, you guys, I'm telling you, like the faster you get at it and the less time you have to spend and the more meaningful these little interactions become. These are the interactions that lead to deeper connection, deeper conversations, and eventually end up as successful invites. Because this is how you genuinely connect with total strangers online. Right? Like you're not going to run into them in a grocery store or a bar or like wherever, or the gym, right? We work out at home. Like the only place I could run into someone, if I'm being honest, is in the carpool line or the grocery store. Those are the only two places that I go outside of everything else that I'm doing. So this is how you run into people on social media. If you think about it that way, it makes it feel a lot less awkward and it just helps you stay focused on, I am here to meet people. That is what I'm doing. I do want something out of this. I want to help you become a better version of yourself, especially if that's what you want to. So a lot of those fears that you had going into this and talking to people, you have to remember that people are just people. They're moms, their dads, their brothers, their coworkers. They are someone's son or daughter or any of the range of things, right? So you just have to humanize the person behind that tagline. Okay, let me see if there's any more of these that I want to do with you guys. Okay. Okay, I want to go into some follow-up stuff. And I want to hear where your process falls apart in conversations. So if you think about, like, just think about your process of like starting to talk to somebody, you get going in a conversation. Where does it go askew? Where are you successful in that? Are you losing people at a specific point? Are you getting stuck in a certain area on like obstacles you can't overcome? Are there topics that you're uncomfortable bringing up? I'm going to give you guys like just a couple minutes and I want you to post it in the chat so that we can talk through it. So I can help with this. Okay. And that way we can go directly into it. So a lot of people are like, what do I say if they just stop talking to me? Right? Like the ghosting situation. So I have a really, really effective follow-up for that. To really determine if they are really interested and just like me and have like ADHD and just need constant reminding and support and coaching, right? Or if they just really aren't interested. So I call it the takeaway approach. It's actually a proven sales tactic, which I didn't know until my sales background husband was like, oh, you're doing the takeaway approach, which there's a lot of different ones. But for the most part, you guys, this is all just coming genuinely from how I operate and how I talk to people, what I would want people to do for me. It's not really a lot of books that I've read or anything like that. A lot of this, you guys, is a little bit of your intuition. That's how you put your personality into this. So something that I'm saying may not resonate exactly with you, and you have to be able to discern like what does and doesn't feel good for you, right? And I don't mean like what's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is different. You can be uncomfortable and still feel good about something. That's a weird thing, but you can't feel bad about something and uncomfortable and keep doing it for an extended period of time. That doesn't work, right? The only discomfort that you can maintain and manage is one that's going to lead you to something better, if you think about it that way. Okay. So when I have people that I've been talking to, I get through the whole conversation, everything's great. Kind of like what Amanda was saying, how she gets lost when she sends them the information. This is a perfect example. You go through the whole spiel and then you're like, okay, here's the information. Let me know what you think. And then you don't hear anything from them. So I will wait a good solid 24 to 48 hours. It just kind of depends on the person. Usually it's like 24 hours. And I respond with this: hey, I didn't forget about you. That's like the number one line. It got really busy. Sorry for the delayed response. And then I'll say, tell me where we left off. What are you thinking about all of this? And I get really direct. So the reason for this specific wording is because I take away all of the pressure and stress of them not responding to me. I'm not acknowledging that they're ignoring me or ghosting me. I don't care about that. I don't care. They can't, if they want to do that, they want to do that. That's fine. What I'm interested in is, are you really wanting to do this or no? I need a yes or a no so that I can continue on with my day. I don't want to waste any time on the no's at all. So you take away sort of that pressure and stress that they're feeling, because sometimes they do get busy and then they don't respond, and then they feel bad for not responding, and then it turns into a whole thing in their mind. And for you to come in and squash that immediately and be like, I don't care about that. What I care about is, are you ready to do this or not? Like, are you in a position, are you in a place where this is the right timing for you to get going on this? Because that's what I care about. It just resets the entire tone of the conversation. Okay. So, and then when you leave it off in their hands, it kind of puts the ball back in their court. Okay. You guys, you can say this again and again and again. So even if they respond and they're like, oh my gosh, I just got busy, I haven't even looked at this yet. You can be like, oh, it's no pressure, no big deal. I just didn't want you to think that I forgot. I remember you. I see you. I hear you, right? It's always about the recognition of that person. And it's so important because so many people get caught up in the sale, the purchase, are they going to reject me or not? It has nothing to do with any of that. It's really just, are you in a place to make a change or not? And if you're not, I'm still here. I'm always going to be here. Let me know when you're ready and I got you. That's it. Super simple. Okay. Okay. Let me just scroll back up. I will say, if you are losing people when you send them the information, you're probably not being thorough enough before you send the information. And I want to be careful, like, with what I say, because a lot of people they get into like this groove and they start treating every single person the same, and they start to like send them information instead of just tell them information. Okay, so this is my last and one of my most important tips to building trust with people: be full disclosure all the time. Don't be afraid to tell people the information that they want to know, whether it's price, whether it's like the reality of the program, whether it's like, I do or don't think this nutrition will work for you. Like, be a full disclosure coach. If you rely on links, info sheets, that kind of stuff from the get-go, like, that is when people will look and be like, okay, this isn't like, she just wants something out of this. It's important to understand that some people are visual learners. Those are the people that are going to love your graphics. Those are the people that are going to love the links, right? So what I try to do, not knowing how people learn, is I try to be thorough. I'll send a voice response. So if they're audio, they'll hear it. I send text response. So if they're visual, they can ingest it, right? Or if they need to take a note, they can write it down. I try and send the links. Once they're basically like, yes, I want to do this, they already know the cost. They know everything about the program. They know everything that they really need to know. This is just their way of visually seeing it all together in one place so that it's organized for them. They can click on the link and go. So for me personally, what's interesting is, it's just kind of like a pre-qualification process. Before I send a link or before I send any information, I'm not afraid to be like, what are you thinking about this? And if they're like, how much does it cost? I will say, let me grab the link for exactly what we're talking about and the products that we're talking about so I can see how much this would be specifically, and I'm going to send it to you. That's how I say that, so that it's full disclosure. It seems like I'm not trying to be like, well, it's like between this and this or this and that. I don't beat around the bush, especially when it comes to money. I'm like, this is what it is. Here's it in a visual form so that you can see it from the get-go. And then I just say, tell me what you think about this. The more you can get them deciding and making the decisions every single step of the way, the smoother this process goes. If they feel like they're making the decisions and they're in control, but you're helping guide them to make the decisions that are going to put them in a position to accomplish what they're trying to achieve, it's just a much more successful partnership, right? Like, that's why when people get really messed up with Success Club, it's usually because instead of selling what that person actually needs, they're like, but I also need Success Club points, so I'm going to push this for me. And that's when you get fucked up over it, right? Like, that's not, so it's really, there's a really delicate balance of having your own goals and your own agenda and really taking care of the people that you are trying to help, right? The way that I think about it is it all comes out in the wash. If I believe in karma, so like if you don't sell a challenge pack to somebody because all they need is the exercise part, I believe that's going to come back to you for that integrity later on. And I just don't worry about it. I'm like, I will hit Success Club because I'm doing this enough and finding enough new people that it's going to wash out. Right? Okay. Ghosting is like a legit pandemic, like right now, because of just everything that's happened in the last 3 years. I think everyone is sort of trying to find their footing. But I will say right now, you guys, is a great time to be like, enough is enough. Like, let's go. I think people can handle being pushed again a little bit right now, which has not been the case for a while. But I do think some of the energy and capacity has returned. And I think you guys should get bold with your invites and your posts and be like, hey, I'm back. I've showed up. Like, I'm here. Like, be confident in that push and that challenge to people again and that invite, because those people who are in that same space as you that are like, hey, I'm done with like all that. Like, I've moved on. I've worked through it. Like, I'm moving again. Like, let's go find those people because they're there. And it will help with the ghosting. So Ashley said, I also get a lot of the not right now people. So when you get somebody that says not right now, what is your response to that? Because if someone says not right now, to me, just from an outsider looking in, what that looks like is I reached out to someone cold turkey who didn't even have this on their mind, got into a conversation about it. This is relevant to any human being healthy, exercising, nutrition, whatever. There's always going to be some level of awareness or interest around it. So you could literally get into a conversation with anyone about this stuff. However, because that connection wasn't made first, right? That's why they're like, not right now. I don't think that I've maybe had like a very, very small percentage of not right now. But it's because, again, you have to network, you have to connect first, and then you invite them. And if it's out of order or one of those steps are skipped, you get a lot of not right nows, I think. And if somebody really is not right now, and you just spent all this time talking to them about it, then you have leverage now, right? Again, my favorite word, you have leverage to say, why did we have this conversation then? Are you not ready, or is this a financial thing? Because if they can say it's a financial thing, Jace, then I'll be like, awesome, here's what we're going to do instead. And I'll give them stuff to do. We're going to work on this is the thing, you guys, again, this is where your credibility builds. This is where your trust builds. This is where people come to you and realize, oh, you're not just here for a paycheck. You're actually here to help people, because if you can help them, even if they don't buy something from you, and if they're saying not right now, that's a financial stop. So if you call it out and say, is this a financial thing? Just really simple. You don't have to go into their finances. They will immediately feel that relief and be like, yeah, it's just not in the cards right now. And you can be like, fine, here's my 7-day, like have something for those people ready to go. Like I have this 30-day walk challenge calendar and like accountability. I'll be like, I want you to do this because anybody can do this. And I want you to post in the group your accountability for it. You don't have to buy something to get healthy. It's helpful, but you don't have to, right? You have to really assess what the goals are here. For me, it's to get people moving. That's like, if I can just get people moving their body, then I succeeded. Okay. Let me just go over a couple more. It's 8 o'clock, but I want to get through some of these. Teresa said, I have people who have done Beachbody in the past and didn't have success, so they're not interested or not for them. Yeah, and that's totally fine. This is, again, why you have something else for them. Here's a little 30-day other kind of accountability challenge. It can be nutrition. It can be exercise. With people who don't like doing at-home workouts, I'll be like, what's your nutrition like? Do you have a support system? Do you have a community? You can go to the gym. I'm going to show you how this can work. Just because you don't want to do the specific program or like the specific platform or trainers, like there's a lot of ways you can integrate people into this, right? And into your community. And eventually win them over because it's awesome. Okay. Let's see. And again, Kate was right too. Like, I think some people just have bad experiences with them. And for me, if people are like, I wasn't successful or they didn't work for them, then I'll be like, what didn't work? The actual program or the structure? Was it like plugging into the online platform? Was it your community page? Was it your coach? Like what actually wasn't working? This is when this is, again, what's going to differentiate you from other coaches is if you are curious to find out exactly what is going on for this person, because they're used to people just accepting everything they say and taking it for what it is and enabling the same behavior over and over and over again. But if you say to yourself, they're like, oh, this program didn't work. You can be like, okay, did you follow the nutrition with it? No. Did you follow the program to a T, or were you just sort of like in and out of it? You can really deep dive into the behaviors around those specific things and be like, well, no program's going to work then. Whether you're at the gym or at whatever, like you can be bold and be that coach and be that person that actually helps them change their life in that moment. So again, be full disclosure, be bold, like take on the role that you have signed up to be as a partner and figure out their problems so that you can find solutions for them, whether they're Beachbody or not, right? Because there's people that you may be like, I don't want to work with this person. And you can be like, have you ever tried going to the gym, right? Like there's so many different things. That's why it's important to just kind of keep your own emotion out of it and just realize you're trying to direct people to a healthier, happier, more fulfilling path. That's really our job. And if we have some kind of tool that can help them, we can sell that to them. So are we in this for ourselves? 100%. 100% you're here for yourself and for your family and for everything else. The perk and the coolest part about our business is that you can also help people while you're helping yourself in this arena. It's a worthy, valid cause, right? To be super selfish and then teach other people how to be super selfish with this. And you can even say that, yeah, I'm here for me, but I'm also here to help you be here for you, right? Okay. I don't like info dump, but I do send intro and price over. People often respond with, wow, I thought it would be so much more expensive. That, Kate, tells me that you're doing everything right. that's perfect. If people are happily surprised by the price, you did an amazing job pre-qualifying and building value in the product. That's awesome. I would love to hear your process with that. Okay. I'm just going to go through these really briefly. You guys can pop off if you have to hop off because I know we're a little bit over. Yeah. So Kate, the response I have saved in my notes. So the price varies. I have a couple different options and bundles. I'm happy to describe the options most people get started with, but I usually like to learn more about you and your goals. This is gold. That's beautiful. I do the exact same thing, just with different language, right? That's awesome. That is such good advice. Okay. Okay. Christy said, do you add them to a free community group or your challenge group with the free day challenge? Yes. So if I ever give anything, well, that's not true. If I give somebody free to work on, that's just something that only they are doing, I actually will work one-on-one with them instead. And what I do is say, on Fridays, I want you to message me and tell me how your week went. And I follow up with them once a week. So I'm not putting like a ton of energy and effort, because I feel like the people who are super invested and really working and have proven that consistency deserve that time and coaching. So I give them the opportunity to become one of those people that deserve that time and energy. And if they follow through and they do the work, then not only will they actually start being more motivated and build momentum in their own journey, but they will become more vocal with you. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. So it kind of depends on the person, but most of the time, if I have them working on a personal goal outside of Beachbody, that's like walking for 30 minutes a day, I have like this kickstart for people in the specific situation, just to get moving their body. And it's super effective and it's super, super simple. And so I'll again have them check in, or I'll check in with them once a week for that 30 days. And by the end of the 30 days, I'll be like, are you ready for more? And if they followed it, then they 100% of the time are. And if they didn't, then we do it again. We just repeat it, right? Takes some people a little longer to get moving. Okay. Okay, this was good. I know it was a lot of information. These calls are a little harder because when you really dive into like the language of everything, it spins your wheels a lot. You start, like practicing and figuring things out. So, I actually have revamped a couple power hours for next month. They're going to be all brand new and relevant and in season with what's going on social media now, which I think will be helpful. So I will definitely add in language examples. Those are my favorite kind of power hours because I think they're super effective. I would love to do an invite power hour with you guys and help you go through my process with that and just kind of discover your own, because I think that's really helpful. Like Kate, she's got a really strong process, obviously. And I think that that's proof in the pudding. So I will put this recording up on my YouTube. You can always follow my Power Hour Instagram if you want. It's just at Power Hours, POWEROURS. It's just a private page. It's not like a public one that I'm growing. It just like has information and stuff about Power Hours. So I'll see you guys in a couple weeks, and I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday.